Yo, what's up guys? Your boy Nitrostorm here. Welcome back to Wuthering Wave. So we're going to take a look at our MVP for this month's Tower Adversity, mainly because she is the latest character out, and you might have or may not have seen my most recent Tower of Adversity video, which showcased Ciaccona as the main DPS, with Yin Lin for one of the clears, and then another where I used Ciaccona as the main DPS with Ciaccona Rover, both having Shorekeeper as a support. Now, admittedly, if I didn't have Shorekeeper support, I'm not sure if I would have been able to clear the stage, but you know, I could give it a try another time, but as of right now, as of this recording, I do not have that knowledge, but more likely than not, probably wouldn't have cleared. Now, let's first start with the Resonant Tower. It's just the usual. Because I used the Yin Lin for the middle tower, I needed someone else to cover for the second and third floors for both sides. And in this case, I used Brand. Brand is very nice to use, but just the caveat where you need to be able to dodge properly, because otherwise if you get hit in mid-air and you get interrupted, that is a lot of time loss and a lot of DPS loss as well. And then first and fourth floor, I did the same for both Resonant and Echoing Tower. I just used my S6 R5 Chang Li just to, just delete the waves. More importantly, we have the Hazard Tower. I cleared this floor with 3 different teams. So first team is what I've mentioned earlier at the start of this video, the Ciaccona Yinlin or double Yinlin team with Shorekeeper. Second team is what you see in front of you, Ciaccona, Ciaccona Rover, and Shorekeeper. And then last but not least is Gian team, which is basically very obvious at this point, because first of all, Aero Res decreased by 10% and a 20% attack buff. Gian eats that up nicely. So overall, very nice experience. I think if I have better rotations on both Ciaccona teams that I showcased on my previous videos, I think the clears would have been much smoother. Then again, I'm still not sure if that would have been clearable without Shorekeeper. Now, let's move on to the builds. First things first, take a look at our MVP here. Now, unfortunately, I am missing 1 crit rate and 1 crit damage roll, but dare I say, the build itself I think is very nice. I think it's good enough. I shouldn't worry about trying to improve it further, because I need to make sure that I have enough material and resources saved up to gear up Cartethia to the fullest as soon as possible. Obviously, she has her signature weapon at R1. I think it's very nice. I just see it as a gun version of String Master because of the 36% crit rate. Now, in terms of the rolls, I would say you could say I got decently lucky on the rolls. It could be better, obviously, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna stay content with what I currently have. And then for her skills, surprisingly, she still does very well even with level 7 skills. Now, I do have her Liberation at level 10. Eventually, I will get this to level 10. I think I will just get Cartethia maxed first and then move back to leveling up Ciaccona's skills. And obviously, S0. Now, moving on to the first clear team, I used Yinlin. Well, first, let's go to Shorekeeper first. So Shorekeeper is the support that I use for both Ciaccona teams, so I'll just quickly go over it. S0, R1, obviously, usual stuff. And then just get crit rate, HP percent, crit damage, HP, and regen, and that's about it. Max skills except for normal attack. So for the first team, we used Yinlin alongside the Ciaccona. And I would say her build is fine, but I've probably been mentioning this every single time I review my Yinlin. I haven't improved her gear for basically like a year now at this point. S0, R1 as per usual. And her echoes, I could say, they're pretty respectable overall. I am missing a couple crit rate rolls, but considering how Yinlin works, I think it's just pretty solid in my books. Fortunately, I have attack percent in every single echo, pretty nice right there. And yeah, pretty decent stats overall. Now, for the second team, I used Ciaccona Rover alongside her. So as you can see, this build is very interesting in a sense that we have a lot of crit rate and an insane amount of crit damage. considering the fact that I am using a Blood Pact Edge. Now that is because for the video that I did, I do use a normal arrow set, the Sierra Gale. Now unfortunately, once the new set arrives that comes alongside Cartethia, this is going to be replaced eventually, mainly because it's basically an upgraded version of Sierra Gale with the same amount of arrow damage bonus in total, but an additional 10% crit rate if the enemy has arrow erosion present. So if I have that free 10% crit rate, assuming the exact same rolls, this guy is going to be looking at 73% crit rate, 276% crit damage, and I think that is very good enough and not really have to worry about a 4-3-3-1-1 build. So obviously, since he's free to play, get your dupes as soon as you can and improve this guy. Unfortunately, there's no crit rate enhancements on here, and it doesn't really buff the team at all. It's just all personal damage. So, you know, it's kind of unfortunate right there. But yeah, level 7 skills, I'd say good enough. I don't think I'll be leveling it up to 10, but we'll see depending on how much Cartethia needs Rover. Now, moving on to the Gian team. So, the Gian team, my Gian used the recent build, the recent upgrade. So, I would say very solid Gian. This guy might not see an upgrade for a very long time. R1, of course, and S0. 4-3-3-1-1 build. Very, very nice. The rolls could be much higher, but, you know, can't have it all. Everything maxed except for the normal attack because I rarely use it. And that's it, not really much else to say. Mortefi, if you haven't seen it before, I recently switched to a Empyrean Anthem set. I would say it's definitely performing, probably better than Moonlit Cloud, mainly because of how much he procs the coordinated attacks of Mortefi's. Now, unfortunately, this is a attack percent one because I couldn't find a good fusion damage one that's also double crit, so unfortunate for that. And I'm using a crit rate main stat KT because these two do not have crit rate on their substat. So if I had crit rate as the substat on these two, then this would have been a crit damage main stat, but you know, it is what it is. And then last but not least, we've got the Verena. I'll work on a 2k attack Verena very soon, but it'll just have to wait. 2k attack with variation, that is, anyway. Obviously, she'll be over 2k attack if I were to use another weapon or a 5-star weapon, that is. Oh, forgot to mention, Verena is S1 and Mortefi is S6 with level 10 Liberation, level 8 Forte Circuit. And the weapon, to be fair, is an R5 Static Mist. Now, before you call Whale, this is basically the only banner that I pull on with the standard pulls that we get over time. I basically only pull on the weapon banner. I've never pulled a single time on the standard character banner outside of the mandatory single that you do to get Baija right at the start of the game tutorial. Now, that's basically it overall. In terms of this season, if I did not have those buffs, I think my Gian team would be a bit harder to complete with. I might just need to play a bit better to ensure that I do get the 3-minute timer. In terms of Ciaccona Rover, maybe if I had better rotations, it might be possible without the buffs. But 40% crit damage is a major buff and shouldn't be slept on. But yeah, that is it for Hazard Tower and Tower of Adversity Season 14. So this video hopefully is somewhat helpful in terms of like my thoughts on it. In terms of like the HP of the enemies, I haven't really been feeling it just yet. But if I were to be feeling it, most of that would be from Hazard Tower because they did change the multi-waves from 2 waves to 3 waves. So there is that to consider. You might call that HP inflation or not. But you know, separating enemies out much further does kind of change things up. But you know, let me know what you think down in the comments below. It's been your boy Nitrostorm. I'll see you guys in the next stream or video. Peace.